Hello again. It's great to be back. My sister asked me to make her a wooden spoon for Christmas. She saw my previous video where I made one. In that video, I mostly used hand carving, using a hatchet and some other tools. There are some power tools involved, but just measuring by time, it was mostly hand carving. With this one, I decided to do it almost exclusively with power tools. I have to say it went much faster, and the outcome was at least as good, so I think I'd do it this way again. This video actually picks up about halfway through the project. I realize it doesn't look like that, but that's because my first attempt broke. You can see the broken first attempt there on the saw. I was using it as kind of a template at times through the second one. What happened is, when I was just about finished with the wood shaper disc on the grinder, it grabbed an edge of the spoon and blew it out of my hand. It hit the ground at kind of grinder propelled speeds and split the side right off. So here I am starting again. This bandsaw is the one I picked up secondhand I've mentioned before. I had to replace a couple of bearings and get some new blades, and now it's working great. Overall, I'm really happy with the saw so far. For projects like this, it should really up my game and speed things along. I resawed the piece of maple I pulled out of the firewood pile. You can see some of the wood left over from that on the workbench there in front of me. I then created a rough drawing of what I had in mind. There's no real right or wrong way to do this. Whatever you like is the right way. I then cut out the rough shape, leaving lots of material to work with. I knew I'd have to come back to the saw, but having extra gives me some chances to recover from a slip or a bit of wood breakout or something. For the power carving you can see me doing now, I'm using a die grinder with a fairly aggressive bit that's designed for fast wood removal. It's kind of a bullnose shaped, so it's really good for any kind of carving like this where you have a rounded shape to do. The only advice I can offer is to go slow and careful with it. Once I have the inside of the bowl roughly shaped, I head back to the bandsaw. My plan here is just to take away some of the material that I know I'm not going to need. This saves me from removing the wood with the wood shaping grinder disc that's coming next. You can see it's starting to look like a spoon at this point. Yay! I've switched from the die grinder to the angle grinder with the wood shaping disc that I reviewed in a previous video. It's a really aggressive metal disc that removes a lot of wood in a hurry. It's perfect for this application, and the only thing you have to worry about is going slow with it. It's really easy to gouge out too much in a spot and ruin your piece. So go nice and slow, move around a lot, don't try to do a whole area all at once, and it should come out pretty well. I'm still following my diagram. You can see me checking things or drawing some lines or whatever. This is to keep me on track with the general design I started with. I'm checking the handle a lot here, as I think it would be easy to end up with it being non-symmetrical. My goal is to have a roughly symmetrical spoon. Of course, you don't have to do that. You can have one that's curved or bent or whatever you want. Since symmetrical was my goal, though, I kept checking to make sure that the handle was staying roughly centered. Okay, that's enough of listening to me. Let's have a little bit of spoon carving music. now we get to apply the finish. Get to see what this thing's going to look like. I had a nice surprise when I cut this wood open. It turned out to be a beautiful piece of spalted maple. I wasn't expecting that at all. I definitely kept the rest of the log, see what else I can make out of this. As you can see, once the finish gets applied, it really makes the spalted maple pop. I think it looks fantastic. Really happy with it. It was a nice surprise. I was expecting just a kind of a more plain maple when I started this project. So, great surprise. The finish is just a homemade board butter kind of thing that I used, or I'm going to use for cutting boards and whatnot. It's just 1 part beeswax, 4 parts mineral oil. Melt it all up, and it kind of goes into this Vaseline consistency type of finish. Just rub it on. I ended up putting, I think, 4 or 5 coats on before the wood kind of stopped soaking it up. I gave some to my sister with the gift, and I expect it'll need some more over the next little while until it kind of gets saturated with the oil. Anyway, I hope you agree with me. I think it turned out really nice. My sister was happy with the gift, and that's the end of the video. Thanks very much, and please consider subscribing. Still a new channel, and I'm trying to build up subscribers. Thanks for watching, and have a great New Year's.